Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his face as he stared at the broken armor. In front of him, the workshop was quiet, except for the soft hum of the space station's air system. Everyone else had gone to sleep hours ago, but Jake could not stop thinking about the problem. The armor sat on a metal table like a dead giant. It was black and silver, covered in strange markings that no one could read. The Coalition had found it on a dead planet 3 months ago. Since then, the best engineers from 12 different alien races had tried to fix it. All of them failed. Jake picked up his wrench and walked around the armor. He had been a mechanic in the Earth military for 10 years before coming to work on the space station. He knew how to fix trucks, ships, and fighter jets. But this armor was different. It was supposed to be thousands of years old, made by a race called the Forerunners, who had disappeared long ago. The door to the workshop opened with a soft hiss. Commander Zara Veeler walked in. She was tall and thin with blue skin that looked like it was made of crystal. Her people, the Altarians, were known for being proud and smart. Right now, she looked tired and angry. Still working human? She asked. Her voice had a musical quality that all Illyrians had. But Jake could hear the frustration. Yes, ma'am, Jake said. He put down his wrench and faced her, just trying to understand how this thing works. Zara laughed, but there was no joy in it. Understand it? The best minds in the galaxy have studied this armor for months. The mechanites with their quantum computers could not fix it. The ethereals tried to heal it with their mind powers. Even the crystalline collective failed, and their technology is perfect in every way. She walked closer to the armor and touched it with one finger. This armor could save us all, Morrison. The Devourers are coming. They eat planets and turn them into metal. They have destroyed 6 star systems already. Our weapons barely scratched their ships, but this armor, the old records say it can create shields that nothing can break. Jake nodded. He had heard about the Devourers. Everyone in the galaxy was scared of them. They were machines that grew bigger and stronger by eating everything in their path. The Coalition military was losing every battle. What do you want me to do? Jake asked. I want you to give up. Zara said. Stop wasting time on this broken relic. Help Dr. Wang build new weapons instead. At least those might work. Jake looked at the armor again. Every alien engineer had used their most advanced tools on it. They had scanners that could see inside atoms. They had computers that could think faster than a million human brains. They had tools that could reshape matter itself. What if they were looking at it wrong? Jake said. Wrong. Zara's crystal-like features showed confusion. How can quantum analysis be wrong? How can bioneural integration be wrong? The Vor engineers tried to rebuild it with living metal. The spectral engineers tried to fix it using pure energy. Every method has failed. Jake picked up his grandfather's old soldering iron. It was a simple tool, nothing fancy. His grandfather had used it to fix radios during the old wars on Earth. Jake's father had used it to fix farm equipment. Now Jake used it to fix whatever needed fixing. Maybe that's the problem, Jake said. Maybe this armor wasn't meant to be fixed with fancy tools. Zara stared at him like he had said something crazy. Morrison, this is Forerunner technology. It is the most advanced technology ever discovered. It cannot be fixed with primitive human tools. Maybe, Jake said, but what if I Just try. Zara was quiet for a long moment, then she sighed. The Devourer fleet will reach the outer colonies in 2 weeks. After that they will head for Earth and the other core worlds. If this armor could work, it might give us hope. But I have seen too many failures. I do not want to watch another one. Give me 3 days, Jake said. If I can't make any progress, I'll stop and help Dr. Wang. Zara looked at him for a long time. Finally she nodded. 3 days, but do not get your hopes up, human. Better engineers than you have tried and failed. After she left, Jake was alone with the armor again. He plugged in his soldering iron and waited for it to heat up. While he waited, he really looked at the armor for the first time, not at the fancy alien markings or the strain metal. He looked at how it was put together. There were joints where the arms connected to the body. There were seams where different pieces fit together. There were small holes that looked like they might be for screws or bolts. Jake had seen joints like these before. He had seen seams like these before. They reminded him of the old power suits that human soldiers used during the resource wars. Jake found a small panel on the back of the armor. It had been painted over with some kind of alien coating, but he could see the edges. He used a simple screwdriver to pry it open. Inside he found something that made him stop breathing for a moment. Wires, simple copper wires, just like the ones he had been working with his whole life. They were corroded and broken, but they were definitely human style electrical wires, not alien biocircuits or quantum pathways or living metal, just copper wire with rubber coating. Jake's hands shook a little as he traced the wires back to their source. They led to a small black box that looked very familiar. It looked like the power distribution box from an old human military vehicle. What the hell? Jake whispered. He opened his toolbox and pulled out his multimeter. It was another simple tool, the kind any human electrician would recognize. He tested the wires. Dead, no power at all. He followed them to what looked like a battery compartment. Inside the compartment, Jake found something that made him sit down hard on his work stool. It was a battery, not an alien power core or a quantum energy cell or a bioneural power source. It was a battery, a very advanced battery, but still recognizably a battery with positive and negative terminals. The terminals were green with corrosion, the kind of corrosion that happened when acid leaked from old batteries. Jake had cleaned thousands of corroded battery terminals in his life. He looked around the workshop to make sure he was still alone. Then he did something that would have made every alien engineer in the galaxy laugh at him. He took out a wire brush and started cleaning the battery terminals. As the green corrosion came off, Jake saw something that changed everything. Stamped into the metal of the positive terminal were letters, human letters. They said DC-12V max. Jake's heart started beating faster. 12V direct current, the same kind of power that ran half the equipment on Earth, the same kind of power that his grandfather's radio had used, the same kind of power that was as basic as electricity could get. The armor that had stumped the greatest minds in the galaxy ran on 12 VTs. Jake laughed. He couldn't help it. He laughed until tears came to his eyes. Then he got back to work. He had some battery terminals to clean and some simple copper wires to fix. After that, maybe he would see if this ancient, mysterious Forerunner armor just needed a jump start. Jake worked through the Night by morning he had cleaned every battery terminal and tested every wire he could find. The armor still looked dead, but now Jake knew it was just sleeping. He had found more human-style components hidden under layers of alien modifications, simple resistors, basic capacitors, and even what looked like an old-fashioned fuse box. Dr. Lisa Wang found him asleep at his workbench when she came in for her morning shift. Lisa was the station's expert on alien technology, but she was also human. She understood why Jake might fall asleep with a soldering iron in his hand. Jake, wake up. She shook his shoulder gently. You look terrible. Jake opened his eyes and stretched. His neck hurt from sleeping on the hard bench. Lisa, good morning. I think I found something. Lisa looked at the armor. It looked the same as always, dead and broken. What did you find? Look at this. Jake showed her the battery compartment. And this, he pointed to the simple wires. And this, he opened another panel to show her a circuit board that looked like it came from an old human computer. Lisa stared at the components. She had studied alien technology for 15 years. She knew bioneural networks and quantum processors and living circuits, but these parts looked like something from an old Earth electronics shop. That's impossible, she said. The Forerunners were supposed to be the most advanced race. History, why would they use such simple technology? Maybe they weren't alien at all, Jake said. Before Lisa could answer, the workshop door opened again. This time it was General Pete Collins, the coalition military commander. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from years of fighting. Behind him walked Dr. Amy Foster, a woman Jake had never seen before. Morrison, the general said. Commander Veeler says you think you can fix this armor. I'm trying, sir, Jake said. But I need to understand something first. Dr. Foster stepped forward. She was older with kind eyes and silver hair. I'm Dr. Amy Foster, human historian and archaeologist. The general asked me to come because you found something interesting. Jake showed her the components. Amy studied them carefully, using a magnifying glass to look at the markings. After several minutes, she stood up slowly. General, she said quietly, I think we need to have a private conversation. Anything you can say to me, you can say in front of Morrison and Dr. Wang. The general replied. They're working on this project. Amy nodded. Very well. These components are definitely human in origin, but they're old, very old. The style of manufacturing suggests they were made at least 50,000 years ago. That's impossible, Lisa said. Humans didn't even have electricity 50,000 years ago, according to our history books. No, Amy said, but what if our history books are wrong? Jake felt like the floor was moving under his feet. You're saying humans built this armor? I'm saying the Forerunners might have been human. Amy said there are legends in many Earth cultures about advanced civilizations that existed before recorded history. What if those legends are true? What if humans reached the stars long ago, then lost that knowledge? The general sat down heavily in a chair. If that's true, then this armor was built by humans for humans. Amy finished, which would explain why human engineering principles work on it. Jake looked at the armor with new eyes. Suddenly, everything made sense. The simple components weren't primitive by alien standards, they were human standards. The Forerunners had built Their technology the way humans build. Everything to be fixed when it breaks. I need to test something, Jake said. He went to his toolbox and pulled out a simple car battery. It was the kind of battery that powered ground vehicles all over Earth. He connected it to the armor's power system using basic jumper cables. Nothing happened for a moment. Then slowly, lights began to glow inside the armor, not the complex light patterns that alien technology used. Simple LED lights like the ones on any human machine. Dr. Wang gasped. It's working. The power is flowing through the circuits. Jake grinned. It just needed a jump start like any car with a dead battery. But the armor wasn't fully functional yet. Jake could see that several systems were still offline. He opened another panel and found what he expected: blown fuses. They were ceramic fuses, the kind used in human electronics for over a century. Dr. Wang, Jake said, do you have any spare fuses in your lab? What kind of fuses? She asked. Jake read the markings on the blown fuses. 20 amp. Ceramic body, fast blow type. Lisa stared at him. Those are standard Earth electrical fuses. I have a whole box of them. While Lisa went to get the fuses, Jake continued exploring the armor systems. Every component he found was recognizably human. The neural interface wasn't some mysterious alien brain computer connection. It was a simple EEG reader, the kind doctors used to monitor brain activity. The defensive shield generator wasn't powered by exotic matter or dark energy. It was powered by a network of electromagnetic coils, creating fields the same way human magnetic levitation trains worked. Even the armor's physical structure followed human engineering principles, where alien technology relied on perfect materials that never failed. Human technology used redundant systems and multiple backups. The armor had 3 separate power systems, 5 different ways to activate the shields and backup manual controls for every electronic system. Here are your fuses, Lisa said, returning with a small box. Jake replaced the blown fuses one by one. Each time he replaced one, another system came online. The armor's chest piece began to glow with a soft blue light. The helmet's display screen flickered to life. The arm and leg joint started moving slightly, like the armor was testing itself. General Collins watched in amazement. Morrison, you've done more in one night than teams of alien engineers did in months. That's because I knew what I was looking at, Jake said. They were trying to fix alien technology with alien methods. I'm fixing human technology with human methods. Commander Veeler arrived just as Jake finished replacing the last fuse. She stopped in the doorway, staring at the glowing armor. How? She asked simply. It needed new batteries and some fresh fuses, Jake said, just like any other human machine that's been sitting unused for a long time. Veeler walked slowly around the armor. Her crystal-like features showed confusion and something that might have been fear. This is Forerunner technology. It is supposed to be beyond current understanding. It is beyond alien understanding, Amy Foster said, because aliens think differently than humans. They build perfect technology that either works completely or fails completely. Humans build imperfect technology that can be repaired when it breaks. Jake nodded. Every alien engineer who looked at this armor tried to make it perfect. They tried to replace the simple components with advanced ones. They try to upgrade the basic systems with quantum processors and bioneural networks, but the armor doesn't want to be perfect, it wants to be fixable. The armor systems were now running diagnostics. Jake could see the results. On the helmet's display, most systems were green, showing they were working properly. A few showed yellow, meaning they needed maintenance. None showed red. The armor is functional, Jake announced. It needs some more work to reach full capacity. But the basic systems are online. Veeler looked at Jake with an expression he had never seen on an alien face before. It was respect mixed with something that looked like fear. Only the human engineer fixed this armor, she said slowly. Then she paused, looking directly at Jake with growing understanding, which means she didn't finish the sentence, but Jake knew what she was thinking. If humans could fix Forerunner technology easily, and aliens couldn't fix it at all, then maybe the Forerunners weren't as alien as everyone thought. Word spread quickly through the space station. Within hours, engineers from every species wanted to see the armor that the human had fixed. Jake found himself explaining the same thing over and over. The armor used simple human technology that could be repaired with basic tools. Chief Engineer Kate Miller arrived on the next transport ship from Earth. She brought with her a team of 5 human engineers and 3 large boxes of spare parts. Kate was known throughout the coalition for fixing things that other people said couldn't be fixed. So this is the famous armor, Kate said, walking around the now glowing suit. Looks like standard military gear to me. Heavy but standard. Jake showed her all the components he had found. Kate examined each one with the eye of someone who had spent 30 years fixing human machines. Electromagnetic coils for the shield generator, she said. EEG interface for neural control. Servo motors for joint movement. Backup mechanical linkages in case the servos fail. This is human engineering at its finest. Ambassador Troy Jensen arrived that afternoon with a diplomatic team. He was supposed to keep the other species happy while the humans worked on the armor, but Jake could see that he was more interested in the technology than in politics. The implications are staggering, Troy said to General Collins. If this armor is human in origin, it changes everything we know about our own history. Dr. Amy Foster had been studying the armor's design all morning. She called everyone together for a meeting in the main conference room. I've analyzed every component Jake found, she said. The manufacturing techniques are consistent with advanced human industry, but from a time period that predates our recorded history by tens of thousands of years. She displayed holographic images of the armor's internal structure. Look at the design philosophy. Every system has multiple backups. Every electronic component has a mechanical override. Every complex part can be replaced with simpler parts if necessary. Kate nodded. That's how we build everything. If something breaks in the field, you need to be able to fix it with whatever tools you have. Exactly, Amy said, but other species don't think that way. Altarians build technology that either works perfectly or fails completely. The Mechanites create self-repairing systems that never need maintenance. Ethereals build technology that exists in multiple dimensions at once. She pointed to a schematic of the armor's power system. This armor was designed by people who expected things to break. People who knew that soldiers in combat don't have access to advanced repair facilities, people who understood that the best technology is technology that can be fixed with a hammer and some spare wire. Jake was working on the armor's neural interface when he made another discovery. Hidden inside the helmet was a small compartment that no alien scanner had detected. Inside the compartment was a single piece of paper. The paper was made of some kind of advanced material that hadn't aged at all. Written on it in simple English were instructions for basic maintenance and repair. The handwriting looked like something from an old military manual. Listen to this, Jake read aloud. If power fails, check battery connections and replace fuses as needed. If shield generator stops working, clean the electromagnetic coils and check for loose wiring. If neural interface becomes unresponsive, recalibrate using the manual controls on the right arm panel. Kate laughed. It's a repair manual. They left us a repair manual. Not just any repair manual, Amy said, studying the paper carefully. This is written in modern English, but the paper is ancient, which means they knew we would find it someday. General Collins finished. They left it for us specifically, the alien engineers who had failed to repair the armor were having trouble accepting what they were seeing. A group of mechanites requested permission to study Jake's repair methods. They watched in silence as he used basic tools to adjust the armor systems. This is inefficient, said Technician Vex 9, the lead mechanite engineer. Our quantum processors could calibrate these systems with perfect precision in nanoseconds. But they didn't, Jake pointed out. Your quantum processors couldn't even turn the armor on. Vex 9's mechanical features showed confusion. The quantum calibration should have been perfect. Perfect calibration always produces optimal results. Kate looked up from the servo motor she was cleaning. Perfect isn't always better. This armor doesn't want perfect calibration. It wants good enough calibration that can be adjusted when conditions change. To demonstrate, Jake deliberately miscalibrated one of the shield generators. Instead of failing completely, the system automatically adjusted itself to work with the wrong settings. It wasn't perfect, but it still functioned. The armor is designed to work with imperfect inputs, Jake explained. It expects the user to make mistakes, so it compensates for them. Commander Veeler had been watching the humans work all day. Finally, she approached Jake with a question that had been bothering her. Morrison, how did you know to look for simple components? Every scanner showed only advanced Forerunner technology. Jake thought about it for a moment. I guess I wasn't looking for what the armor was supposed to be. I was looking for what it actually was. I do not understand the difference. Everyone else looked at this armor and saw mysterious alien technology that was beyond understanding, so they tried to fix it with mysterious alien methods. I looked at it and saw a machine that was broken, so I tried to fix it like any other broken machine. Feller was quiet for a long time. Your people have a saying, do they not? If it looks like a duck and sounds like a duck, it is probably a duck, something like that. Jake said, this armor looks like human technology and works like human technology, so it is probably human technology. Jake finished. Kate had finished her examination of the armor's physical structure. She gathered everyone around to show them what she had found. This armor is built like a human would build it, she said. Look at these joints, they're designed to be field stripped and rebuilt with basic tools. Look at these access panels. They're placed where a human maintenance worker could reach them easily. She opened a panel on the armor's back. Look at this wiring harness. It's color-coded, using the same system that human electricians have used for centuries. Red for positive, black for negative, green for ground. Jake nodded. Every component is marked with part numbers and specifications, just like any human military equipment. Dr. Foster had been quiet during Kate's presentation, but now she spoke up. There's something else. I've been comparing the armor's design to historical human artifacts, the proportions, the joint angles, even the way the helmet fits on the shoulders. This armor was designed for human anatomy. She displayed a holographic comparison showing the armor overlaid on a human skeleton. Perfect fit, but when we overlay it on any known alien anatomy, the hologram showed the armor on an Altarian skeleton, then a mechanite frame, then other alien body types. In every case, the fit was wrong. This armor was made by humans for humans, she concluded. There's no doubt about it. Ambassador Jensen looked worried. If this gets out, it will change the political balance of the galaxy. Humans will go from being newcomers to being the descendants of the most advanced civilization in history. General Collins nodded grimly. The other species won't like that. Some of them barely tolerate humans as equals. They definitely won't want to think of us as their superiors. Jake was still working on the armor, making small adjustments and testing systems. Maybe we don't have to tell them everything right away. We can just say we figured out how to fix it. They'll want to know how, Kate said, and when they find out it was simple human engineering, they'll start asking the same questions we're asking. Commander Veeler had been listening to the conversation. Now she stepped forward. Morrison, she said, you said you fix this armor with simple tools and basic methods. Could you teach other humans to do the same? Sure, Jake said. It's not complicated once you understand the principles. Belter looked around the room at all the humans present. Then, perhaps it is time for your people to reclaim their legacy. Major Chris Turner arrived on the station 3 days later. He was a test pilot with 15 years of experience flying everything from atmospheric fighters to deep space interceptors. If anyone could test the repaired armor safely, it was Chris. Jake had spent those 3 days making final adjustments to the armor systems. With Kate Miller's help, he had replaced worn components, updated the software, and calibrated every system to work with human physiology. It's as ready as I can make it, Jake told Chris, but we're still guessing about some things. This is the first time anyone has worn Forerunner armor in thousands of years. Chris examined the armor carefully. He was a careful man who never took unnecessary risks. Walk me through the safety systems. There are 3 emergency shutdown procedures, Jake explained. Voice command manual, switch on the chest panel, and a dead man switch that activates if you lose consciousness. The armor will power down and call for help automatically. Dr. Ben Clark, the station systems analyst, had set up a full monitoring system for the test. Sensors would track every aspect of the armor's performance and Chris's vital signs. If anything went Wrong, they would know immediately. The test chamber is ready, Ben announced. Full environmental controls, emergency. Medical team standing by, and remote. Shutdown capability if needed. The test chamber was a large room with reinforced walls and multiple viewing windows. It could simulate different environments, from deep space, vacuum to high gravity. Planetary surfaces, today they were starting simple, normal atmosphere and Earth standard gravity. Chris put on the armor piece by piece. It fit him perfectly, as if it had been made specifically for his body. The helmet was comfortable and provided clear vision through its display screen. The joints moved smoothly, enhancing his natural movements rather than restricting them. How does it feel? Dr. Clark asked over the communication system. Like wearing a really advanced diving suit, Chris replied. Heavy but balanced. The weight distribution is good. Jake was monitoring the armor systems from the control room. All readings were normal. Power consumption was low. Joint servos were responding properly, and the neural interface was syncing with Chris's brain. Wave patterns. Try walking around, Jake suggested. Chris took a few steps. Armor moved with him naturally, its servo motors amplifying his movements without making them feel artificial. After a few minutes, he was moving. Normally, this is impressive, Chris said. It doesn't feel like wearing a machine. It feels like the machine is part of me. Commander Veeler was watching from the observation deck. She had seen many types of powered armor in her military career, but nothing that moved as naturally as this. Test the strength enhancement, Dr. Clark said. Chris walked over to a weight rack that had been set up in the test chamber. He picked up a 100 lb weight with one hand. The armor made it feel like lifting 10 lb. Strength boost is working, Chris reported, but it's not overwhelming. I can still feel the weight. The armor is just making it easier to handle. Kate was studying the power consumption readings. Look at these numbers. The armor is using less power during activity than it does at rest. It's learning from Chris's movements and becoming more efficient. Over the next hour, Chris tested every basic function of the armor. The environmental systems kept him comfortable in different atmospheric conditions. The strength enhancement let him lift heavy objects without strain. The mobility systems allowed him to jump higher and move faster than any human could naturally. But the most impressive feature was how intuitive everything felt. Chris didn't need to think about activating systems or adjusting settings. The armor responded to his intentions as naturally as his own body did. I want to test the neural interface more directly, Chris said. Can you give me something that requires quick reflexes? Dr. Clark activated a target practice program. Soft foam balls began shooting at Chris from different directions at random intervals. He had to catch them or deflect them away. At first, Chris tried to catch the balls using conscious thought and deliberate movements. He missed most of them. Then something clicked. Instead of thinking about what to do, he just reacted instinctively. Suddenly, he was catching every ball. His hands moved to the right positions without him deciding where to put them. The armor was translating his reflexes into enhanced movements faster than his conscious mind could process. Incredible, Dr. Foster said, watching from the control room. The armor isn't just following his commands, it's anticipating them. Jake nodded. Look at The neural interface readings, the armor, is reading his brain activity before he's even aware of making a decision. It's responding to his subconscious reflexes. Commander Wheeler looked troubled. This level of neural integration is beyond what any current technology can achieve. How is it possible? Because it was designed for human brains. Specifically, Amy Foster explained, other species process thoughts differently, but this armor was built to work with human neural patterns, human reflexes, and human instincts. Chris was now moving through a complex obstacle course that Dr. Clark had activated. He dodged barriers, jumped over walls, and caught objects, all while moving faster than any unenhanced human could manage. But his movements looked completely natural. Chris, how are you feeling? Jake asked. Any discomfort or fatigue? I feel great, Chris replied. Better than great. It's like the armor is giving me energy instead of using it up. The power readings confirmed what Chris was feeling. Instead of draining the armor's batteries, his physical activity was actually charging them. The armor was converting his body heat and movement into electrical energy. It's a closed loop system. Kate realized the more active the user is, the more power the armor generates. It's designed for extended use in combat situations. Ben Clark was studying the armor's defensive systems. Chris, I want to test the shield generators. Are you ready? Go ahead, Chris said. Ben activated a low-power laser that was designed to simulate weapons fire. When the laser hit Chris, a shimmering blue field appeared around him for a split second, deflecting the energy away harmlessly. Automatic defensive response. Ben announced the armor detected the incoming energy and activated shields. Without any conscious command from the user, they tested the shields with different types of simulated weapons, projectiles, energy beams, and explosive concussions. The armor shields adapted to each threat automatically, using just enough energy to deflect the attack without wasting power. But the most remarkable thing was how the shields seemed to predict where attacks were coming from. Even when Ben fired from unexpected angles, the shields were already forming in the right places. It's reading my peripheral vision and subconscious awareness, Chris explained. I'm not consciously seeing the attacks coming, but some part of my brain is noticing them. The armor is responding to those unconscious signals. General Collins had been watching the test with growing excitement. Morrison, this armor doesn't just protect the wearer, it makes them into a perfect soldier. Enhanced strength, enhanced speed, enhanced reflexes, and shields that respond faster than thought. Jake nodded. And it runs on simple human engineering principles. No exotic matter, no quantum processors, no neural networks, just advanced versions of technology we already understand. After 3 hours of testing, Chris finally stopped for a break. The armor powered down to standby mode, and he removed the helmet. That was the most incredible experience of my life, he said. It wasn't like wearing a machine, it was like being a better version of myself. Commander Wheeler had been quiet during most of the test, but now she approached Jake with a serious expression. Morrison, I need to ask you something important. If this armor was built by ancient humans, do you think there might be more of it? Jake thought about the question. Dr. Foster, what do the historical records say about forerunner artifacts? Mizero consulted her data pad, the armor was found in a cache with other items. The dig site suggested it was some kind of storage facility or armory. An armory, General Collins looked interested. How big an armory? The archaeologists estimated it could have held equipment for several thousand. Soldier, Jake felt a chill run down his spine. You mean there might be thousands of these armor suits and other equipment? Too. Amy said the site was only partially excavated. There could be weapons, vehicles, even ships. Chris, who was still wearing most of the armor, looked around the room. If ancient humans built this much advanced equipment and then hid it away, what were they preparing for? Commander Veeler answered the question that everyone was thinking, but nobody wanted to ask. They were preparing for the Devourers. Professor Dan Roberts arrived on an emergency transport ship with a team of researchers and a collection of data that would change everything. He was Earth's leading expert on theoretical physics and ancient civilizations. His face was grave as he entered the briefing room where Jake and the others were waiting. I've been analyzing the data you sent about the armor, Dan said. Without any greeting, I've also been reviewing every Forerunner artifact. Discovery from the past century. What I found will shock you. He activated a holographic display showing a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked known Forerunner sites. There were hundreds of them spread across dozens of star systems. We always assumed the Forerunners were a single advanced alien race that disappeared mysteriously. Dan continued, but look at this pattern. The sites aren't randomly distributed. They follow human colonization routes that we didn't think existed until recently. Admiral Jack Cooper had arrived that morning with a small fleet of coalition ships. He was a weathered old soldier who had fought in more battles than most people could count. He studied the map carefully. Those routes would make sense for a civilization trying to establish supply lines and defensive positions, he said. It looks like a strategic deployment pattern. Dr. Foster nodded. I've been studying the timeline. The Forerunner sites were all abandoned at roughly the same time, about 50,000 years ago. That's also when the first Devourer attacks were recorded in the ancient databases we've recovered. Jake was still working on the armor, making small improvements and learning more about its design every day. Professor Roberts, what exactly are you saying? Dan took a deep breath. I'm saying that humans didn't evolve on Earth. We came from the stars. We were the Forerunners, and we retreated to Earth when the Devourers became too powerful to fight directly. The room fell silent. Even Commander Velter, who had seen many shocking revelations in her military career, looked stunned. That's impossible, Admiral Cooper said. Human DNA shows clear evolutionary links to Earth species. We evolved here over millions of years. No, Dan said. We adapted here over 50,000 years. There's a difference. Look at this. He displayed genetic analysis data on the holographic screen. Human DNA does show links to Earth species, but there are artificial links, genetic modifications designed to help us survive on a primitive world. Dr. Foster added her own findings. I've been studying human mythology and ancient legends. Every culture on Earth has stories about gods or advanced beings who came from the sky. What if those weren't myths? What if they were memories? Kate Miller had been quiet during the presentation, but now she spoke up. It would explain why Jake could fix the armor so easily and why it fits human anatomy perfectly and why all the components use human engineering principles. It would explain more than that. Jake said he had been thinking about the armor's design philosophy all week. This armor wasn't built by people who were trying to create the perfect defense. It was built by people who knew they were going to lose the war. Everyone looked at him. Jake continued his thought. Look at how it's designed. Redundant systems, simple repair procedures, components that can be replaced with basic tools. This armor was built for a long retreat. It was meant to keep working even when there were no advanced repair facilities available. Commander Veeler understood immediately. A fighting retreat. Your ancestors were pulling back to a safe world where they could wait until they were strong enough to return. Earth, Admiral Cooper said. They retreated to Earth and waited 50,000 years for their descendants to redevelop the technology needed to fight back. Professor Roberts nodded, and they left caches of equipment hidden throughout the galaxy, waiting for us to find them when we were ready. Dr. Ben Clark had been analyzing the armor's computer systems. Now he made an announcement that changed everything. Again, I found something in the armor's memory banks. It's a message, a recorded message from the original owner. He activated the armor's helmet display. Hologram appeared above it, showing the image of a man in military uniform. He looked completely human, but his equipment was far more advanced than anything the current coalition had. The man began to speak. His voice was clear and strong, speaking in ancient English. That was still understandable. If you are seeing this message, then our plan worked. My name is Colonel Marcus Kine of the Terran Defense Force. This armor belonged to me during the final battles against the machines we called the Devourers. Jake felt chills run down his spine. Colonel Kane looked like he could be Jake's own brother, just wearing a different uniform. We could not defeat the Devourers with the technology and resources we had. Then Kane continued. So we chose a different strategy. We scattered our people across the galaxy, with some going to safe worlds to preserve our civilization. The most important group went to a blue planet in a quiet sector of space. World we called Earth. The hologram showed images of early Earth, green and beautiful and primitive. Those who went to Earth gave up their technology. Voluntarily, they chose to start over as simple people, knowing that their descendants would eventually rediscover the sciences and return to the stars. When that happened, they would find the equipment we left for them. Admiral Cooper leaned forward. He's talking about us. We're the descendants he's talking about. The Devourers are not gone. Kane's message continued. They hibernate for long periods, but they always return. We calculated that they would wake up again approximately 50,000 years after the last battle. If you're receiving this message, that time is near. Jake looked around the room. Everyone was thinking the same thing. The Devourer fleet that was currently advancing on Coalition space was right on schedule. This armor is yours by right, Kane said. It was built by your ancestors for your use, but it is only one tool among many. Throughout the galaxy you will find weapons, ships, and equipment designed for human use. Some of it will seem advanced to you, but all of it is built on principles your people understand. The message continued with technical information about finding other Forerunner caches, and activating ancient defense networks. Jake absorbed every word, knowing that this information could save the galaxy. "Remember this," Kane said as his message ended. "The Devourers are powerful, but they have one weakness: they cannot adapt to truly unpredictable behavior. They understand logic and mathematics and programmed responses. They do not understand human creativity, human intuition, or human stubbornness." The hologram faded. The room was completely silent. Finally, Commander Velter spoke. "Only the human engineer fixed this armor." She paused, looking directly at Jake with an expression that was part respect and part fear, because it was human armor all along. Jake nodded. "Built by humans for humans to be fixed by humans using human methods, Admiral." Cooper stood up. "Professor Roberts, how many other Forerunner caches are there?" "Hundreds, maybe thousands, all over the galaxy, and now that we know what to look for, we can find them, General." Collins looked at Jake. "Morrison, how long would it take to train other human engineers to repair and maintain Forerunner equipment?" "Not long," Jake said. "Once you understand the principles, it's straightforward: basic electrical work, mechanical repair, and common sense. Any good human mechanic could learn it." Kate Miller grinned. "I've got a list of 50 human engineers who could be here in a week. Give us a month and we'll have teams ready to activate every Forerunner cache in Coalition space." Commander Veeler looked troubled. "The other species will not like this. They will feel threatened by human superiority." "They don't have to feel threatened," Jake said. "We are all on the same side against the Devourers. But they do need to understand that this war is going to be fought with human technology, using human methods, Admiral." Cooper nodded. "And led by humans who understand what their ancestors built." Dr. Foster had been studying the star maps Colonel Kane had provided. "According to this data, there's a major Forerunner command center only 3 days from here. It contains enough equipment to outfit an entire army." "Then that's where we're going," Admiral Cooper decided. "Morrison, Miller, I want you and your team to come with us. We're going to wake up some more human technology." Jake looked at the armor that had started everything. A simple repair job had turned into the discovery of humanity's true heritage. In a few days, he would be helping to activate weapons and ships that his ancestors had built 50,000 years ago. Commander Veeler approached him one final time. "Morrison, are you ready for what comes next? Your people are about to reclaim their place as the defenders of the galaxy." Jake picked up his grandfather's old soldering iron and put it in his tool bag. "I guess we'll find out, but I think our ancestors would be proud. They left us the tools we need now. We just have to learn how to use them." As the meeting broke up and everyone prepared to leave for the Forerunner Command Center, Jake had one last thought. Colonel Kane and his people had made an incredible sacrifice, giving up their advanced civilization so that their descendants could survive and eventually fight back. Now it was time to honor that sacrifice. The Devourers were coming, but they would find that humans were ready for them, ready with technology built by human hands, maintained by human engineers, and operated by people who understood that sometimes